So, hey guys, this is my either last or next to the last video of my series on the Baker Act and me being Baker acted in November of 2020 for what amounts to a single text message. I was in a hospital slash room that was monitored, but I wasn't locked in, called the flex floor. And the doctor came in on my third day, and I thought I was leaving because the Baker Act only allows them to hold you for 72 hours. And I was exhibiting no signs of threatening myself, threatening anybody. I was a regular patient basically in there, fairly comfortable, not knowing what was happening, not knowing what was going on. Nobody really informed me much of anything. So the doctor came down. I call her Dr. Nurse Ratchet. She was not very compassionate, not very nice, especially since it was assumed that I was a suicide case. And she basically implied that I had lied to her about something that I don't even recall. And this is another thing, is that remember that Baker Act is a civil action, not a criminal action. So you're not read your rights. You're not told that you can remain silent. So when you're being questioned by a healthcare professional, who says you have to tell them the truth anyway? It's not in court. You're not taking a lie detector test. But she just was clearly unhappy with me. And so she came down to see me, and she basically said that she was going to admit me to the psych ward, or a psych ward. And I was like, "Are you crazy? This is not anything that I should be subjected to." And I said, "Where?" And she started to walk out of the room. She just didn't say anything to me. And so I was stunned, quite frankly. And I said, "Where is the psych ward?" And she goes, "Well, there's a few of them in town here, or in the county. It could be this hospital, it could be PEMS where you were originally brought." And that was it. She walked out. And so I was, I think I was on the phone with my attorney, and he said, right now it's just best to comply. Don't cause any problems or anything like that. So I said, okay, fine. So that was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and about 8:30 at night, I was sleeping in my room, and somebody knocked on my door. It was a sliding glass door, and they said, okay, we're going to take you to the psychiatric ward. And they had a wheelchair for me. I still had my khaki shorts on and my t-shirt and my flip-flops. And so I got in the wheelchair, and they pushed me down the hallway into these double doors. And as the double doors opened up, it was like transferring into a whole nother facility. Nothing was new, nothing was nice. Everything was just a part. It was a part of the hospital that was very, very old, probably from the 50s. So it was like cold tile floors and terrazzo, and it just felt like I had walked through into another movie set. And they locked the door, and then they pushed me into the entryway, and it said psychiatric ward on it. They opened the door, and there was a male attendant there, a younger guy, and they checked me in, and he said, "Can you please come into this room with me? I'm going to need to search you, strip search you." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, we have to make sure you don't have any contraband." Well, basically, in front of this guy, I had to take all of my clothes off, turn around. I didn't have to do the spread, but they have to check your mouth, because sometimes people can sneak in contraband, drugs, who knows. I had nothing to sneak in or nothing to hide. So after this humiliation, they give me a gown, or a robe in some sense, but it wasn't like one you would get in a regular hospital. This one was almost like no strings. You had to put it on one arm at a time, and it was like a Rubik's Cube. And they gave me some skid-proof socks. and they took my vitals, and they walked me down. It was very quiet because it was a little bit later at night, so there wasn't a lot of people around. It was dark. It was basically like a circular ward. In the middle of it was like a nurse's station. So they walked me to this room, and I saw maybe about 30 rooms that were, the doors were closed, and they took me to a room, and it had one single bed that was basically almost like a cot, but it was bolted down to the ground. It had a mattress on it, very thin mattress that was maybe 2.5 feet wide by 5.5 feet long. One pillow and one little blanket. And the bathroom was all stainless steel, just like you would find in a jail. It had a shower, but the shower hadn't been used in years. It had a stainless steel toilet, a sink that you could only push the button once. It had a toothbrush, toothpaste, and a comb, a plastic comb. And nothing on the walls, nothing. I did have a window, which was nice. And so no TVs, no books, no cell phones, no computers. Everything of mine was taken. All my jewelry, my watch, everything. All I had was my glasses. And so I asked them for another pillow and if I could have some ice water. And they were very nice there. I have to say the staff was accommodating, if you want to call it that. And I went to bed, and about 20 minutes later, my door opened up and somebody stuck their head in, and they said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yes." "Okay, thank you." And they shut the door, and went back to sleep. And this happened all night long, this opening the door. And then I later found out that it was because I was under suicide watch. So somebody was going to check on me and make sure I was in that room. The room was not locked. There was no bars. It's not a jail cell. And so the next morning I woke up, they brought in some breakfast on a metal tray, or a tray that looked like a prison tray. And they said, "The doctor will be in to see you later on this morning." And I thought, oh no, it's going to be Nurse Ratchet again, and I'm going to have sorts of problems with her. So the food I'll describe as basically inedible. It was eggs that were disgusting, toast, and the only thing that I ate was stuff that was prepackaged. It was yogurt, a pudding, apple juice, orange juice. And I think all told, when I left there, I had lost at least 12 pounds. And so I ventured out of the room, because again, I wasn't locked in the room, and I ventured out of the room and walked around a little bit, and I found a room that had a TV in it, an old TV, very old TV, and it had like Bay News 9 on, and there were some patients. Everyone was wearing the same blue gown. And they were just watching television. Some were playing little games. They weren't like mental patients as though you would think in a movie. They weren't going around talking to themselves. They were, a couple people were had eating disorders, I could tell. Probably some alcohol issues and maybe some suicide issues. I don't know. I didn't talk to anybody. And I didn't know what was happening, but there was a phone. They said I could use the phone, and it was an old school black handheld phone with the cord on it, and it was in a little cubby hole inset. And they said you can use the phone from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. And luckily I had written down some numbers on a little piece of paper, so I could call people that I knew, my family and a couple of my friends, and my lawyer, of course. So I realized that this phone cord, you had to stand up to use the phone, and the phone cord was about yay long from the phone receiver to the actual phone. And I was like, what is this all about? So I had to stick my head into the cubby hole to be able to reach the phone, because I couldn't pull it down and stand up. And I realized that this phone cord was short so that people weren't able to hang themselves. So later on, the doctor came in, and it was a young doctor. Thank God it was a different doctor. And he's a psychiatrist. Nice enough guy, probably in his mid-40s. Treated me nicely, talked to me as a normal person. and he asked me, you know, what was happening, and I don't know if they even communicate with each other at all, if they know what exactly the circumstances were. But like I said, the circumstances were one text message, and when I was in there, I did nothing to show any reason to keep me there. So the doctor said, okay, we're going to give you some medication for your anxiety and your blood pressure. Okay, all right. So they gave me anxiety medication called Ativan, and I'd never had that before. I have had anti-anxiety medication before, but not Ativan, and I had not heard good things about it. They don't make you take medicine there. They encourage it. And I think, if I remember correctly, you have to sign a paper that says you are authorizing them to give you medication. So the next day, the same routine, and I realized that I remembered a friend of mine who had been there and said, if you don't eat your food and they see that you're not eating it, they're going to assume that you are possibly on a hunger strike. So I remember that, and when they brought me my food in, I only ate and drank the stuff that was prepackaged. The rest of it I flushed down the toilet. Luckily, this toilet was like an industrial toilet. You could probably flush socks down there. So it was not hard to get rid of this stuff. Now, keep in mind that I had not taken a shower in almost 5 days. I hadn't been able to shave. I hadn't been able to wash my hair. I asked for an extra pillow, and they gave that to me. But there's no clocks in there. No room has a clock. The only way you can know the time is if you ask one of the attendants at the nurse's station. Now, I have no idea why this is. I don't know why, but if you want to talk about deprivation of senses, what's the longest you've ever not had your phone or your computer, your internet? And keep in mind that I have my own business, and my clients don't know what's wrong with me. I cannot have visitors. I cannot have any visitors at all. Period. Not even my attorney. And I could call them on the phone, but I could not have anybody in there. And if anybody were to call to ask if I was there, they are not allowed to say that I'm there at all. Period. If I call and leave a message, they can call me back with a special code, and then I can speak to them. I don't know why this is either, but I was on my 6th day, and this lady comes around. And I had been drawing sketches with a little pencil they give me that is like a rubber pencil. You can't have a pencil with sharp edges. So I had this little piece of paper, and I was just sketching because I was looking out my window, which was nice that I had a window. And I looked over downtown St. Pete, and I thought, boy, you know, what's happening in my life? What's going on, and what's going to happen to me? They were giving me no discharge date. And I was just basically, you know, in limbo. So they said to me, they always come in the room and they would say, are you thinking of hurting yourself today? Every single time. And I said, no. And so on the 5th day, I think, this lady, this little bubbly lady comes around. She's got a clipboard with her. And she says, if anybody wants to go out onto the outside court for basically recess, follow me in this line and we'll go out and go on the court. Now, I haven't been outside in 6 days. And I thought, well, what the hell else am I going to do? I had gotten a couple of books, thank God, from my friend who gave me them, which I read one book of 500 pages in 1.5 days. So there's nothing else to do. They don't have any therapy there. There's no cognitive therapy. There's nobody that comes around and says, what is happening with you? Are you okay? What brought you here? There's none of that. It's just sleep, eat, and take medication. So we form a line, and it's kind of very surreal because it reminds me of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest when they all go outside for recess or whatever they're doing on the basketball court. So we are walking in single file. We walk out of our ward, and this lady is like oddly happy. She's like Julie, the cruise director from Love Boat. How are you guys doing today? Blah, blah, blah. Well, so we go into this other ward called the acute psych ward. Now, this is the top level of mental health treatment above where I am now. These are people that are schizophrenic, that may be highly medicated, and quite frightening, actually. And we're walking through there to get to this outside area. So we get to the outside area, and there's all these basketballs. And there's basketball nets, like 8 or 9 of them around here, and it's open to the sky. It's almost on the rooftop of the hospital. And so they say, okay, do whatever you want, I guess. Some people just sit down, and you can't smoke there. There's no smoking. So I just started shooting hoops, you know, in my gown. I'm wearing basically a gown with my underwear on and socks, shooting basketball hoops with some other guy who was seemingly in my situation, but he had said he had been there for weeks, and he didn't seem to be bothered by it. And I was disturbed by that comment because I thought, well, I've got to get out of here a lot more than weeks. I can't do this. So we played basketball for about half an hour, and a couple people were not having a good time out there. They were sitting in the corner crying and very distraught, and Julie, the cruise director, was you know, talking to them and trying to help them out with whatever was bothering them. So after that, we go back in, and now we're on day 6, and I'm telling this doctor who comes around every day, and he's very nice, and he asked me about, you know, my habits, or if I have any drug habits, and I tell him no. I said, doctor, I don't belong here. This is starting to affect my life negatively. You know, I can't pay my bills. I can't take care of my cat. I can't work with my clients. My clients don't know what's happening. I could be losing all of them, and this is in the pandemic. So any client that I had was, you know, a big deal. So he says to me, well, we're going to release you today. And I was like, oh my God, you know, and my stomach just went, oh my God, oh my God. So I said, what time? He said, I don't know. I'm not sure. We have to do your processing and stuff of that nature. And so a nurse came in and she took my blood pressure. And I've been on blood pressure medication, but you know, anxiety and stress can raise your blood pressure regardless of what medication you're on. So my blood pressure was high. I don't remember what it was, but it was high. And she said, okay, we're gonna have to give you a certain medication. I don't remember what it was. And I'm thinking, oh man, if this keeps me from getting released, I'm gonna be very freaked out. And so as this happens to me, my anxiety is starting to build up and build up and build up. And I thought, oh my God, I have to be calm. I have to, and this medication, Ativan, I had been taking for a few days, and it really wasn't doing much for me. In fact, I was waking up, you know, as anxious as I ever was. But I decided that I would take it because they recommended it for me. And I did have a lot of anxiety, as you might expect. So finally, they bring in my clothes. And I'm like, okay, cool, this is happening, this is going down. I put my regular clothes back on, and every day that I was there, I made my bed. Even though it was a tiny little bolted down cot, I made it because that's what I do at home, and that's where I could get some sanity. So I made my bed, and I sat there and waited and waited and waited. And finally, an attendant came in. He said, okay, you ready to come with me? And I took my brown bag, and I took my blue gown and put it in the bag because I wanted a souvenir, if anything, albeit a bad reminder. And I went downstairs to the discharge. I waited there for a little while, and I thought, okay, this is it, man. I'm out of here. And I had called people, and I went, and just like in jail, they give you back your possessions. So they give me my watch, they give me my phone, they give me my jewelry, they give me all my stuff. The only thing is I didn't have a belt. I didn't come with a belt. And I lost so much weight that my pants, my shorts, were not staying up. And so the lady says, okay, we're going to call an Uber for you. We have a service here that Uber is in agreement with the hospital, and we're going to call an Uber for you. And I said, okay, thank you. And I walked down the stairs holding my pants, because if I didn't, they would have completely fall down. That's how much weight I lost. So I'm waiting out there, and there's a lot of Ubers. I'm not sure if this is for general hospital transportation or just psych ward. It looked to me like it was for general. So the guy comes up, picks me up in the Uber, and it's still surreal. This is still a surreal situation for me. So I live very close to the hospital, and the Uber driver decided he wanted to be talkative. And I thought, I don't want to be talkative right now. I just want to get to my house and take a shower and shave. So he says to me, so what were you in the hospital for? And I thought, I can't tell this guy what I'm in the hospital for. It's too long of a story, and I don't feel like telling it. So I said, well, I had high blood pressure. And he said, I've had that before too. How long were you there for? I said, 6 days. And he said, 6 days for high blood pressure? Wow. I said, yeah, it was quite the experience. And so I got home, and I took a shower, shaved, plugged my phone in, and started to realize that a lot of people had texted me and called me that didn't know what happened to me. And also, I realized that I had lost a really large client because I wasn't able to meet the deadline by being in there. And again, a reminder, this is all from a text message that was sent to somebody who was a stranger. One text message, not a conversation with somebody, not a threat to police, not a threat to anybody. Just one text message got this entire process going. And I thought, you know, I'm gonna have all these bills. I'm gonna have an ambulance bill. I'm gonna have 6 days of hospital bills. That could be $150,000. And it was depressing. And I thought, I know this is supposed to be for people who need help and need protection against themselves. But for somebody who's okay and doesn't need that, it's quite stressful. And so I don't have a real lesson for this, actually. Just be careful what you do and say online and text messages, because this process could happen to anybody. And I just wanted to tell that story. That's the end of the story, really. I'm still, after 2 years of it, I'm still feeling the anxiety of it. If somebody knocks on my door, I get very anxious. And if I see police cars, sometimes I get nervous, I get paranoid. But luckily, I have a lot of friends and family that were supportive of me, and I thank all them. And that's really the story that I want to tell. And thank you guys for listening to it, and let me know what you think. Peace out.